Thanks, Maritime Standard, for bringing me here, inviting me, and putting together this fantastic show. Hats off. And also happy to have sharing a dice with prominent speakers like this. I think I'm glad I'm here. So I'm going to share an important aspect. I think some of the speakers have already talked about it very briefly, the ESG, the environmental, social, and governance. I think that's something which we all have been hearing, we all have been talking. So I'm going to share some thoughts and insights on that. So yeah, as we all know, maritime industry is going through uncertainty phase, and we do see a lot of changes happening. It's a transformational time for all of us, and ESG plays a critical role in this. And as you can see, so I started with very basic what ESG stands for. So as you can see, some of the key materiality topics against ESG. So carbon emissions, climate change, I think we all have been talking. But I think what I see, a lot of clients forget about S and G, which are equally important if we talk about ESG. So whenever I talk to my clients across the globe, I always emphasize and insist that it has to be seen as an overview, overall aspect rather than only E of ESG. So I think it's important to cover all three. If you see on the right-hand side, I think I put together few importance of ESG. I think there are a lot many. This is just a snapshot. I think the first one is the financial and market benefits. So based on the study, we have seen the companies who really follow ESG proposition, ESG strategy are successful in long run. So it's prominent, and that if companies are following the ESG compliance, putting together efforts for that, they are going to get benefits in long term. In terms of the investments, I think this has become a mandatory for a lot of multilaterals. I don't know, I think we have some multilaterals sitting here, World Bank, ADBs of the world, EBRDs. I think for them, it's mandatory now. Before they invest in any company, I think for them, it's tick in the box that if company doesn't have a ESG strategy or a reporting, I think it's a big red flag for them. So from the investment perspective, I think it's very critical. And I think that really pushes a lot of companies to start their ESG journey. And slowly what I'm seeing is the commercial banks, a lot of large private banks are also following that path. So I think it's not, it's not good to have now. I think it's licensed to operate in near future, I would say, if we talk about ESG. So here I put together some of the key challenges and how we can overcome those challenges. So environment, we all have been talking about GHG emissions. So maritime, globally, we are responsible for 3% of global GHG emissions. We are responsible for 90% global trade. So it's a big chunk. And that brings a lot of responsibility to us as an industry. So in terms of environment, what we are seeing, a lot of companies are moving towards green fuels, alternative fuels. We all have been talking about LNG. We all have been talking about biofuels, ammonia, methanol, and so on. So yeah, I think that's something which is everybody's doing. I think what's the biggest catch here is we don't talk about the major or the broader infrastructure, what is needed for these. I think we all talk about fuels, but we also need to talk about the entire value chain. How we'll manage bunkering, how we'll manage the production of these vessels, how we'll manage the safety aspects. So all that need to be considered if somebody wants to start this journey. If we talk about ports, I think there are low-hanging fruits in terms of shore power, cold ironing. I think a lot of us know about it. I think that's something which a lot of countries are coming up with. If we talk about California, I think for them, all the ships coming need to use shore power. I think in terms of Europe, I think European market has also made it mandatory now. By 2030, every port or all the major ports need to go for shore power. So I think these are some of the changes which are happening, which is really good for the E aspect of ESG. The social aspect, I think that's again a very important aspect. We all need to talk about seafarers, safety, how we can train them, because since we are changing towards a new future, I think it's very important to train our existing crew members, our employees. So it's very important how we can take care of their health and safety, how they can be connected to the external world. I think these are the things which we really need to think about. In terms of governance, I think that's again a key aspect. If you talk about investment also, because most of the investors are looking for transparency, which is something is missing. The other key aspect is the data, because I think if we talk about ESG, I think the biggest challenge I would say is the data, because a lot of things would depend. So it's garbage in, garbage out. So we all talk about. So if we get the right data, I think we can report the right data to the regulatory authority. So it's very important to start gathering the data. And I do understand it's not going to happen in one day. It takes time, few months, few years. So I think what I suggest to most of the people here is start gathering that data, identifying those data points, and assessing those data, because that's something which is really critical to project your ESG future. The green financing, the sustainable investments, I think I think that's something where I see a lot of traction coming in. For example, we recently supported one of the largest bulk carrier company in Bangkok, and they were the first player in the Asia region to raise sustainability linked loans, guaranteed by CGIF, a trust fund of Asian Development Bank. And we do see these transactions happening quite often now across the globe. So I think some of the markets are really talking about it. Some of the markets are not mature enough, but as Dr. Ibrahim also mentioned in the beginning, I think some of the players in the region are also moving forward. And I'm glad I'm sharing this with Dr. Ibrahim, because we recently worked with him and his team on ESG strategy and reporting. So yeah, I think I do see a lot of new clients in the region who are showing interest and working towards this ESG goal. I think this is a slide I wanted to talk about. This is on the green recycling. I think this is just an example. I thought I'll deep dive, considering I have limited time. I just want to talk about in terms of green ship recycling is another important aspect, and it sits under the wider ESG strategy or sustainability strategy of the company, especially for the ship owners, shipyards. I think this is very critical. And I think what we see based on our research, around 1,300 ships are going to recycle in next decade. And these vessels are all big vessels, 30,000 LDT plus, covering container ship, tankers, bulkers. And unfortunately, we don't have many shipyards across the globe to serve that. So I think it's very important to kind of develop that sort of infrastructure which I talked about in the beginning. This is a strategy framework which LR has developed and which we have been using across the globe, helping our clients. I'm not going to talk about the entire, but the idea is to identify. I think to start with identifying the ESG priorities. The good thing about ESG is it doesn't give you a mandate from the year one that you have to disclose everything. It gives you a flexibility, and there are guidelines, GRI of the world, to support you in terms of disclosing the information. So I think it's important to start at some point, and then it takes 3 to 4 years to get mature when we talk about ESG. And I think once you identify your the key topics which you wanted to disclose, you just need to start fetching the data, putting together right information, and then disclosing it. So yeah, this is a journey which most of the company need to follow if they want to develop the ESG reporting strategy. Thanks everyone.